We have two hunks of junk in the galaxy. What's up, everybody? Hope you are doing well. Time to review yet another awesome Lego set. This is the Lego Creator 3-in-1 Pink Flamingo set number 31170. Most essential for anybody who captures South Florida, tropical scenes, the Everglades. This is probably one of the most Florida sets Lego has released in a recent while, and I just had to pick one up. For this review, since it is a 3-in-1, I'm going to make the unique choice to build all three models. We'll start with the Parrot on the top right, then snake down to the sea creature on the bottom, and then finish with the grand finale. If I can find the instructions, there might be also a intergalactical surprise. So let's slowly unbox this set. Came out, I believe, March 2025, pretty widely available. And the bags are numbered. Not sure if the numbering is consistent between the submodels. And without further ado, let's get building. This tropical parrot-like bird came out looking really nice. I love the design here. Very curvy, very sleek, and need I say, quite adorable. Quite a bit of rotational function is possible here. You can turn the tail up and down quite a bit. These also can rotate, which allow for various display choices. The head rotates with a full 360 degree of freedom. And you can rotate these, sway them from side to side. The wings can flap from side to side, but they do have a limited motion in this direction. But you can rotate them the full 360 degrees on its side, which is pretty nice. Stands on two legs, and the center of gravity has to have been pretty well calculated because in most cases, the bird will stand upright with just the two supporting legs. You don't necessarily need the tail to touch the ground, even though in this case it is. Lots of nice part usage, including these chunky elements here, and very nice use of coral and bright pink elements, as well as the light aqua accents. Love also the light yellow or cool yellow that is implemented here as well. So I learned that the third submodel is actually a cockatoo, not a parrot. And this one's an axolotl. In fact, it looks a lot like the Pokemon Wooper. It's a paedomorphic salamander, so it's a sea amphibian. Looks very nice, very cute, and would make for a great display piece. The use of coral using the neck piece from the actual flamingo build makes for a really nice touch as well, and allows this to be a more complete build. There's plenty of rotational ability with the axolotl itself. The head, of course, rotates using the mixel joint 360 degrees. The front two legs use hinge plates. Limited range of motion, but pretty decent. And the tail has mixel degree of freedom, but there's one catch though, is that the tail detail is only on one side, so it's decided you would want to display it. So if you want to display it facing this way, you keep the tail like so, or you can always flip the tail around and you can display it the other way, so plenty of inversion opportunity there. I will note that in both of the submodels, Lego did not break from having a lot of leftover pieces available. I do believe that this submodel has more leftover pieces than the Cockatoo that was previously built, and I thought that was gonna have more than this, but turns out there are many more leftover pieces here. But not bad. We're gonna build the main model, but first, a little surprise that will not require instructions. look at the Flamingo Falcon versus the Millennium Falcon 75192, which I inherited from a good friend a couple years back. So I attempted the very challenging and unique, absolutely unique Millennium Falcon build with the parts from the set. Very nice, very fun techniques, lots of NPU, has a nice greebling-like effect, but it is very delicate, so be careful handling it, though I will say. Makes a nice display piece and is probably worth an extra copy of this set, just as is every other submodel. Here's one last look against the larger UCS set. Here's a look at the flagship model, the Flamingo itself. And this is the exact reason I got this set. It's a beautiful, cohesive flamingo, very South Florida. It fits perfectly in a Miami AFOL's space. It's a very magnificent display piece, very mature build, even though the set is marketed to young builders as well. Lots of snot technique, half stud offset usage, very neat technique on the head of the Flamingo to just perfectly use the 5:2 ratios, half stud offset here, just a very cohesive look here. And then it makes a very good use of the new arch piece. These are the classic arches, but with a plate shaved off for more functionality. Hopefully they don't get rid of the original arches. I do like the original arches, but these will do as well. Couple mixel joints here, supporting the long tubing. Very unique recolor in coral in this set. And then we have the side, which is a very snot heavy construction. So the side of the body here is rigid, but the tail does rotate, but to a slight range of motion. Probably about 40 to 50 degrees. However, the one downside is if you rotate it all the way up, you do reveal some of the underbody detail, but I guess the natural look is to go more downward. The leg is also very clever technique using some geometry here, and there is some freedom normally when setting this up. However, it looks like here it's actually locked in. For instance, you could extend the leg and make this go inward, but the way they set it up here, it is actually fixed in place. The paws of the Flamingo do rotate. I mean, you can just set them in whichever direction. Just follow the instruction. Very interesting use of the pagoda roof piece. And at the bottom, we have the little beach scene here. Very tropical looking, a little bit of light aqua. Good color choice here. It kind of reflects like the more lighter waters. I guess really kind of a waves crashing type of vibe going on here. You can see really like the wave effect here as it transitions into the sand, which is a mix of tan and cool yellow. And we have some tropical plants over here. Very nice use of color. This really plays into the identity of incorporating color in Lego builds, which has been made very famous with the Lego Masters TV show. Fun fact, one of our club members is a contestant in season 5, and we have her back. The opalescent trans-pink ferns were probably a favorite element of mine in this set, especially looking to capture South Florida luxury scenery. This would be an excellent accessory piece to have in large quantities. We can incorporate it pretty much anywhere, and it'll mesh in pretty well with the other foliage. But this extra element of sparkle adds a lot of different color, and you can see how the light's hitting it. It just hits different with every degree. I mentioned a lot the rotational degrees of freedom for elements of the set. So we also have the head, which can rotate pretty freely, but of course not to an unrealistic degree. And the entire body can rotate 360 degrees on the flat plane, though it's pretty preferable to have it just sitting like this. One other minor issue, but really a non-issue because there are only 2 shades of pink in the set for the majority of the build, is the instructions. If you look at any page in the instruction, it does look like dark pink. However, it is very clear that the only other alternative to bright pink will be the vibrant coral. As usual, everybody will moan about the price, and I do feel that at times this does not feel like a $25 set, but in this economy, it is a pretty fair price. It does feel more like a $20 build, maybe coming from past experiences, but it does have some very interesting dimensionality. It's a pretty large set when put together, although very narrow. So they've done a very good job of covering this illusion of size, making the set definitely appear larger in person than one would think. The very neat color scheme does kind of brighten up the mood, so to say. It's a lot of vibrant, bright colors, pastel tones, very art deco, very South Beach, and very inspiring. I definitely recommend the set for builders of all ages, especially if you want like a nice desk piece. If you're in the South Florida area, this is perfect. This ties into a lot of the branding for Vice City, Miami, etc. And of course, a lot of the color choice for the Miami FC soccer team bases off the flamingo, and it's in the logo as well. Very, very iconic for the area. So I hope you have joined me on this 4-in-1 building adventure of the 31170 Pink Flamingo Creator Set, and I hope you have enjoyed the entire video. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe so you're the first to know when I get new sets and build new mocks, especially mocks. We are in a huge parts acquiring binge. There are going to be lots of mocks coming throughout the summer and fall of 2025, especially as we hit our rainy season here in South Florida. Thanks again. From HQ, where the Pink Flamingo is chirping louder than ever, this is Dr. Toga, out.